Hello everyone, welcome to the F1 Watchalong for qualifying. Sorry for the delay in everything there. I'm just going to have to quickly double check things because we've got a bit of a Discord situation which seems to be broken, so I do apologise. We'll be joined by Tom Rob in a few moments time, but at this stage it's quite frustrating. Never mind, actually I figured it out already. I just need to do this and we're all good to go. Alright, there you go. Now we can hear Tom. Alright, let's see what we can do. 40 minutes on the clock for qualifying, and no one has set any laps, however, yet. Tom, just quickly early, I'll go first. Who are we going to predict on pole? I reckon it's one of the Ferraris, although I said one of the Ferraris would win. I really do think that Charles Leclerc could get it.
Yeah, the Ferraris are definitely a top contender for qualifying or for pole position. But don't forget the Mercedes were really strong in the sprint shootout. Russell finishing in P2 and Hamilton having a shot at pole position if he haven't made a mistake in the middle sector to last sector. And also Max Verstappen, winner of the sprint race. Like all of these drivers have a good shot for getting the pole position, but my guess, as a Ferrari fan myself, I say Sainz will get it.
Really? Okay, fair enough. I mean, they were very equal there. Obviously, I've gone to Charles Leclerc because he always seems to be the guy to get it done in qualifying, but the race pace was really there of Carlos Sainz, who's gone P2 behind Lando Norris. Not far at all. It seems to be that it goes this way. In modern Formula 1, the gaps are absolutely minuscule. Sure, they're very tiny in general over the past few years, but with the top drivers, you used to see Lewis Hamilton go fastest by 3 tenths, 4 tenths, but now you see it barely anything, and it is awesome in qualifying. Oscar Piastri up to P3. Let's see what we can do. Lots of people in the pit lane not setting lap times yet. We've got plenty of time in this session. It's not like it was sprint qualifying where it's a pretty rapid situation. It's going to be an interesting one, of course, because they've already done a qualifying session so far this weekend. So would that be better? I don't quite know. We've got Gasly going very slippery through the first corner as they go over the crest. It's a low traction zone, which can be difficult to deal with, of course. Now, I just want to quickly double check something. There you go, there are the lap times. We got a 32.8 was the sprint qualifying pole position from Max Verstappen. Do you think we can match that time? Do you think we'll go even faster, Tom?
I think we're not getting close to the time. The temperatures for today were a bit hotter than yesterday. So I expect the track being hotter as well, and the teams have more trouble with heating up their tires. But as we are watching Verstappen again with a really great first sector, looking like he could at least get close to that time already.
Yeah, looking very quick. I mean, he's always been the man to do it on track. Prime Verstappen, I guess we could really call it. Sure, you could say 23 was Prime Verstappen, but they had a very good car and weren't being massively pushed. They're pushing themselves as they are a Formula 1 driver. They'll always do that. But they really do have to test it, and they're testing their driving skill. And they've come back after a break with a bang, getting that sprint race win, of course, which has been a brilliant benefit for their championship to get an extra 2 points in the end, it was, over Lando Norris, of course, so everything is going to help them out. We've got Norris, Sainz, Piastri already in the pit lane. We have Max Verstappen going very, very quickly, as you said, Tom. Final corner, it's going to be round across the line, DRS open, close as you like to the track limits, and it is going to be by a big margin. That is very, very impressive. I was just saying, obviously, that the margins are a lot closer these days, but not as, well, that kind of changed things around. That is absolutely amazing. We've just got Norris and Perez set at exactly the same lap time.
Yeah, the second time around this weekend already with, I think Colapinto tying it in the sprint shootout with his teammate Albon. So it's really astonishing how close they are, and especially getting these same times in.
Yeah, for sure. It is pretty incredible. I would like to say it's rare to see, and it's very, very, impressive to do. But actually, we've seen it happen quite a lot. It happens maybe once a year, to be honest. So it's something that we'll see from time to time, and this is what you can see on your screen right now. But the times will change. Track evolution around this circuit is absolutely mega. The grip that you can get from this circuit as time goes by and the track evolves, it's just going to make it so much quicker later on into the session. In the meantime, we have had Alex Albon go to P4, which is a brilliant situation for them to be in. They said that they thought they had the pace for a better result in qualifying for the sprint race, of course, but they just didn't quite get it together, and it was all on their fault. So we're looking for both Williams to try and get through. Sure, Colapinto will have had a bit more time, a bit more practice in a qualifying run around this circuit this year in this car, but Albon should be still pretty quick. He is the more experienced driver. Tom, Colapinto so far this season, we'll go back to the timings in a minute, but I just want to focus on Williams. Colapinto, is he outperforming Albon at this stage?
At least he is tying his level. I mean, he's a rookie coming out of F2, having like zero experience before he was put in, and he's matching Albon's pace time after time, race after race, and it's quite nice to see such a young driver perform as good as a driver we were saying. Like, he's getting the best out of that car, but we still have to remind us that Albon was beaten quite heavily when he was driving for Red Bull. So yeah, we've seen a great Albon in Williams with slower teammates, and a slow Albon with better teammates. So I think it's nice for Albon to have a decently good teammate at least, who is on the same page. And for Colapinto, a more experienced driver who isn't the slowest, and it's just fun to see him perform as good as he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's well said. I think Alex was very, very quick in Red Bull. I think he was proven to be one of the quickest out of all the teammates that Max has had. That being said, it's just whether they were able to put it all together in the qualifying session and then be there when it comes to race day, of course. You don't want to have to make positions during a race if you don't have to. Anyway, we want to focus at the times right now. 7 minutes on the clock. Gasly is currently fastest. This is track evolution for you. Hulkenberg P3, Lawson P4, Ocon right there. And we've got Carlos Sainz, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton all down the order. Charles Leclerc hasn't even set a lap yet. That's not looking too good for Ferrari. Sure, their cars should be a lot quicker, but it's still a difficult one. That is the back of the Ferrari kind of sparking all over the place. That's an interesting one. Surely that can't be healthy unless it is just the way it goes.
Yeah, especially at the change of the surface with the switch between the new and the old. There are quite a few bumps in the old part, so I guess that's where the sparks are coming from. Because now on the back straight you see there's no sparks at all on the new surface. So I think that's one of the reasons the Ferrari is bumping so much on the ground.
Yeah, it would seem so. It would seem so. Purple, though, in the middle sector for Carlos Sainz, currently P10, looking to just make sure they're a little bit safer. This should be the car, in my opinion, to go at the top spots, really. I think Max Verstappen really did well to get the best out of the car that he had yesterday, and of course today as well. Really just having a nice clean race, clear air, and making it work nicely. Here we go. Carlos Sainz crosses the line. Charles Leclerc taking that purple middle sector away. That is Carlos Sainz to P2, not beating Gasly. Charles Leclerc surely will change that as they do go top of the times. That was a little bit of a difficult one there for Carlos Sainz. Very close to the back of Gasly, but look at the gap that they've got to their teammate. 3/10. Absolutely mental.
And that's the moment where I realize I'm saying they're not getting close to the time and already are 4 tenths behind the sprint pace.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, maybe things will change as we get to Q3 because the sessions are longer. And the track can get rubbered in more. There's a little bit less pressure, so they can kind of focus and lock in. But I think, to be honest, we're probably going to be on the right track. We might not be able to beat those times. We'll see. 4 minutes on the clock. It is crunch time for everyone outside of the top 15 and pretty much from I don't know, actually, because the grid's so mixed up right now. It could be anyone. That is Yuki Tsunoda getting a time deleted for extending at turn 12 the exit of the DRS straight, the main DRS straight. So they're going to have to try and work their way back in again. That does mean they're going to be dead last for now. They've got a lot of work to do right here. As we'll see Carlos Sainz. I'm not entirely sure what the situation is with them. I think it's just some slow-mo shots. Anyway, we're not going to look at that. We're going to... Oh, okay, that's what we were looking at. They've got a bit of floor damage, so Carlos Sainz isn't really going to have the best of times, and hope that maybe that was enough of a good qualifying lap time to get them into the top 15. Tom, would you say that lap time from Carlos Sainz would be enough?
I would say it's probably going to be enough, especially comparing it to the sprint quali times. I don't know the exact timings, but I think 0.7, 0.8 was enough to at least get into the next session. So I think he will be safe. Drivers who are more in danger are Piastri, Perez, and also both Mercedes. With Piastri and Perez both struggling yesterday. Piastri going out in the first shootout, and Perez also just being outside the top 10. So it's really interesting to see what they can do with more of a free tire choice.
Yeah, for sure. So the P15 time was a 34.617, so we are way into that for, of course, Q1 standards. We'll see how it goes, though, as we get to the final minutes of qualifying. George Russell is out, and they've got a lot of work to do. They are going faster than they've done before, so that's a good sign, of course. They really want to make sure that they make the most of this. The Mercedes looking absolutely rapid in qualifying, of course, yesterday, but also in the sprint race earlier today. At the opening stages, they were very, very quick. They just dropped off massively towards the end. I don't know what was going on with them. Will Russell get a distant tow from Fernando Alonso? Probably a little bit, but nothing to really look out for, to be honest. They're going to be looking to try and beat their teammate, more importantly, as well, as Lewis Hamilton, despite having a very rocky weekend, seems to be maybe even quicker out of the two drivers.
Looking at the split times now, Russell looks like he will get pretty confident into the next session, but Hamilton is looking really close, just 300 in front of Alonso, splits with a lot of drivers trying to set a better lap. So Hamilton does have to get a really great last sector, or he might be out.
Yep, it's not looking good. They've got to make sure that they nail it in the final moments. That is going to be George Russell taking it to P3, showing the Mercedes can get the job done. Lewis Hamilton comes on the final corner. What's it going to be for the Brit? It's going to be, oh no, a P16, and they will be knocked out of qualifying. Confirmed. That is a devastating moment there for Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes team. They've only got one car in, and we're going to have to see who else gets dropped now. I say, of course, that is going to be Lewis out, confirmed. There is 1 minute on the clock, but you're not going to get another lap in, believe me. Unless there's an absolute miracle, you're not going to get another lap in. That is such a shame there for Lewis Hamilton. But Yuki Tsunoda, they need to try and set some laps. I hate to say it, but I think the Saubers are probably not going to be able to get out of Q1 here, so it is going to be Alonso trying to push down Magnussen. That's the situation that we're looking at right now, and maybe, of course, Stroll, because we will have Tsunoda going like he's going pretty quick and trying to get into Q2.
Also for Hamilton, more devastating probably than being out in the first qualifying is a gap to his teammate. Like, he is 6/10 off his teammate, and for a driver of his caliber, it's just really frustrating. It's just really annoying to see being down the order as much as he is.
Yeah, for sure. We got Lawson go to P3, just proving that he can be in Formula 1. We've had Yuki Tsunoda comfortably get there, P8 for them. We've got Fernando Alonso on a lap. They are improving, but they were wrestling the car through the complex in the second sector. As they go across the line, they are going to get their way in, and it's going to be Stroll and Magnussen at risk of being knocked out. Well, are they going quicker? We've got Magnussen not going quicker in the first sector, but Stroll is going to be trying to knock out Colapinto, and they could very possibly do that. We'll see how it goes. Now, Hamilton very, very disappointed with the situation that they're in, of course, but we need to look at the timings here for Stroll and Magnussen. Magnussen is now improving in the middle sector, so Colapinto but also Albon are not necessarily safe in this session. The gaps are so close, we are going to find out in a few moments' time. Now, what can happen here? Magnussen is going to cross the line. Stroll will also come through, of course. Magnussen first, though, will watch on round the final corner, going all the way to the limit on the exit, and they will jump their way up to P7 ahead of their teammate. Colapinto's knocked out. Will Stroll be able to get the second Williams out? They will. And what a disappointment right there. Albon, are they on a lap? Can they improve? They're on a lap, but they're not improving. That is going to be it for them. Albon will be P16. We've got Colapinto, Bottas, Hamilton, and Joe. Bottas manages to beat Hamilton there. Absolutely incredible stuff for him. What a disappointing day there for the British driver, though. But on top is Verstappen, then Leclerc, and Liam Lawson up to P3. That is a hell of a mix and a very, very, very close qualifying session.
It definitely is really close. Like, looking at the timings, we've got all 20 cars in just 1.2 seconds. A few races years ago, it was seen that at least in the top 10 that gap would be. And especially for Sauber, it's really nice for them to be as close to the grid as they are today, after having such a hard season.
Yeah, just see some replays of the Williams. This would explain why they had some problems. They were all over the curbs in the S section, which lost them out so much time. Hamilton actually got their lap time deleted. So is that why Bottas beat them? I'm not entirely sure, unless they'll go to P20. But yeah, it only gets worse for Lewis Hamilton, and I don't know, will they be able to get points in this race? Oscar Piastri struggled like anything in a very quick car to be able to make progress in this race. So if that's the case, I think it's just going to be such a difficult grid to be able to make progress on, really. It's not looking good for Lewis Hamilton. What a shame. He loves the USA, but he's not going to love this Grand Prix this weekend unless something really crazy happens, which it could. It's Formula 1, anything can happen. But Q1 is to an end and Q2 will be up in a few moments' time. The story is, of course, Lewis Hamilton out of the qualifying session very early on. We've got both McLarens, not exactly anywhere near the drop zone, but also not exactly safe. That's a little bit of a worry there for the orange cars right there. Now, looking at the other cars in the grid, of course, we've got both Racing Bulls comfortably in, both Haas's comfortably in. Haas are really performing quite nicely. Gasly and Ocon, that is a hell of a surprise. Of course, we lost both Williams drivers and of course Hamilton, so yeah, I did not expect that, but fair play to Alpine. They always seem to bring it back towards the later stages of championships, at least from my memory. They didn't have the best of starts. Was it to the 23 season or was it 22? I'm not entirely sure, but then they managed to bring it back a little bit later on, which was great to see, of course. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes for them tomorrow. That is where you score the points. That's what you need to focus on. Sergio Perez, P9. Of course, that does mean they were half a second behind their teammate. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. It was only Q1. And they need to make sure that they get themselves into Q3 and then focus on being close to their teammate. But it's still not the best situation to be in. Carlos Sainz isn't too far away off of that because they are also a fair bit of time away from their teammate who was absolutely on fire this session. Of course, the Haas's are very close to each other though, so they are performing at a pretty good level. And Magnussen, Tom, you saying Magnussen's maybe the top driver for this weekend?
He's at least the driver to watch. He's pretty fast, especially compared to Hülkenberg, who's driving the new spec for the race. So it's really interesting to see him being so close and even beating him sometimes. Of course, Hülkenberg needs to get the experience in with the new chassis. But it's still a great drive for Magnussen, especially after missing a complete race weekend of driving experience because of his penalties that he acquired through the seasons.
But I mean, ultimately, he can go full pelt now because it completely wipes your penalty points once you serve the race ban. So he can basically go no risks now. Yeah, that will be very good to see. I'm sure very entertaining. Whether it will be fair, I don't know, but we'll find out, won't we? In due time, of course. Now we're just waiting for the session to start, and we'll see how that goes. I don't think anyone's really being investigated for anything serious. Gasly had a time deleted, so did Ocon, but they're still in the session. It doesn't affect their position. They'll be, or at least their position in the second session of qualifying, so they should be absolutely fine. I don't entirely know when the session will restart. I assume it will be within the next couple of seconds, if not maybe a few minutes time. But yeah, we'll see. Looking further on the grid, both Astons, they were really getting through by the skin of their teeth. They might not be happy with that one, to be honest. Aston Martin looking to try and still be a very strong team. They score a lot of points here and there, which means they're able to be, I think they ahead of Haas, I'm going to assume. I'm going to need to double check that. But yeah, they've I've completely lost all my words now. They
Aston Martin is fifth with 86 points, with around 50 points in front of Racing Bull and Haas.
Okay, so yeah, they're basically usually solidly getting points, and it really does help them. Pretty strong in the championship regarding on their own. They're not really competing with anyone ahead or behind. They're just kind of in no man's land. But that qualifying session really makes things change. We are now going with Q2. Let's see what we can get on the times. Can we reach that all-important sprint qualifying lap time? Will Tom be right or wrong? We'll find out in a few moments' time. It is all about the track evolution. And we do see both Red Bulls out very early on. Also, the Ferraris are making their way out, as it just seems the teammates like to kind of follow the same kind of coordination. We're going to get both Alpines as well on their way out as well. Gasly will actually be ahead of Leclerc right there. But Verstappen, the early bird, gets the worm, looking to try and get those early times in. Now, the benefit of that, of course, as I've said before in previous watch-alongs, is if you go nice and early, you will be at less of a risk of losing out to a to a yellow flag, a late yellow flag knocking out the session. There's a bit of traffic in the pit lane, it looks like, people going side by side. They're all waiting to go out, even though it's green flags. So they've got to be careful. That McLaren is looking very nice there with that chrome. I've got to be honest with you. We'll see how it goes, if it makes them any faster though.
The drivers are probably waiting inside the pit lane after some investigations yesterday, with not following the outlap times, with a lot of cars driving slower than they should be. But I think there was no real investigation afterwards, as many of them were just slow because of letting cars pass. But yeah, that could be an issue, and that's why probably why they are waiting in the pit lane.
Okay, so maybe that's why both Red Bulls have gone through. They've tried to be nice and clear in the air. They don't need to worry about traffic. They can set a decent lap time on their outlap, get the tyres warmed up, and then go. And Max Verstappen will start the qualifying session off. They are starting their first time lap as they head to the first corner, and we'll go and see the sector times in a few moments. Of course, they don't have any traffic, there's just a car moving out the way, and they'll be good to go. That was Sonoda. That is the last person that a Red Bull car wants to be impeded by. A sister team, of course, they've got to watch out for that one. But a purple first sector, obviously, for Verstappen, and we'll find out what first sector Perez can do in a few seconds' time. Just crossing the line, the sector line now. Where will Perez be? It's a 25.1 versus a 24.9. So 2/10 off his teammate in the first sector. Not too far away in the early stages of this session. It's a shorter session, 15 minutes, compared to 18 minutes in Q1. It does put the pressure on them. We'll get 12 minutes for Q3, and that will be absolutely manic, but it will be very entertaining. Verstappen continues to push the limits as they now reach that third sector, and they've just got to try and keep it all together. As I said earlier, if you can just get a lap in the early stages, you might just make yourself that little bit safer for later on in the session if you make any mistakes, or if there is a yellow or even a red flag that ruins your day. Verstappen round the final corner. Well, what's it going to be for the Dutchman? It is going to be a pole position, believe it or not, for now. And then we'll have Sergio Perez round the final corner as well. Let's see where they are according to their teammate. 4/10 down, it seems. It will be 4/10 down, unfortunately. So that is a pretty big gap. Now, I don't know how that will affect them for later on. If that means it's going to knock them out of qualifying, we'll find out, of course, as always we will. But Q2, of course, it means that you've got all the competitive cars from the top 15 up right there, and they're going to be incredibly close. So you can't afford to be 4/10 down on a car that it has exactly the same mechanical advantages and disadvantages to you, or to you. To you. So you've got to try and bring that back up. We've got Leclerc going across the line, but they have not really set the best lap time ever by a Ferrari, a 34.0, so a bit of a mistake there for them, but they still complete it. Carlos Sainz, a 33.4, so yeah, we'll see. But Gasly, once again, pushing the limits around this circuit and getting quite high up, although still 3.5 tenths just over, away from Max Verstappen. Lance Stroll to P5 right there. As we will also see Ocon, of course, making their way up. Verstappen will make their way to the pit lane. Fernando Alonso now is going to set their lap according to their teammate. In the meantime, we've got Hülkenberg going fastest in the middle sector. The Haas's are looking pretty clean at the moment. That is Alonso going P6, just ahead of their teammate by 0.028 seconds. Sonoda, Lawson, but I really want to look at Nico Hülkenberg, who has just had their middle sector lap time been beaten by Lando Norris, who is looking very quick. Finally, can the McLaren start to push nicely? Nico Hülkenberg then gets the purple last sector, P5 for them right now. Still not able to get any further though. Their teammate incredibly close, maybe just losing time in that first sector. That's really what's troubling them. Lando Norris though, P13, but not for long. They'll go to provisional pole position by 2/10.
For record, it's not the sprint suited P1 pace.
No.
He would have still been just third in the sprint shootout, so my take is still right, even though it's just 200ths.
I think it might be wrong in about 3-4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes when we get to the final stages. We'll find out very, very, very soon if that is the case, of course. But yeah, it does look like we're going to end up going faster. The track temperatures may be hotter. It does mean that the tyres can be a little bit more gelled into the ground, possibly. Charles Leclerc into the pit lane, 7 minutes on the clock. They've got plenty of time to go out again, but they've still got a lot of work to do. P14 for the Monegasque driver. It's not ideal. Liam Lawson not setting a lap time, despite being out, I think, a few moments ago. They're going to possibly have to set a lap time on a scrub set of tyres, and that is a 5-lap-old set of soft tyres. That is how it goes with a sprint race, of course, event where you have that qualifying. You have to start managing your tyres a bit more. Just to quickly update you on that, Lando Norris, they've set their lap time on a fresh set of tyres. Max Verstappen's 6-lap-old tyres, fresh set for Piastri and also Russell. Gasly as well. We've also got Perez, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Ocon, Alonso, Stroll, all on fresh tyres, whereas all the other cars that I didn't mention are all on scrub tyres. Most notably, 9-lap-old tyres for Leclerc. That's maybe why we see them so far down the order, but I don't know if it really warrants that big of a gap. They are pretty far down. Actually, never mind. Maybe that's fair enough. We'll see how that goes. But everyone on their way into the pit lane, and it is just going to be a mad dash in a few moments' time. Although that being said, it looks like the Haas's are on their way out. No, that's just Kevin Magnussen parking up. I do apologise. But Piastri and Russell on their way into the pit lane now. We're going to have no one on track for a few moments. That's going to be a bit boring, isn't it? We'll see if we can try and find something to talk about. What's the most notable thing? Oh, well, I guess it's Red Bull and their technical situation. Tom, do you know what's going on with Red Bull?
Yeah, there was some reports about having a system built in, which makes the adjustment of the ride height easier for them. Some teams also noticed it in the report every team has to send, and told the FIA. They were looking into it for this race, especially with the head designer of Red Bull explaining, leading FIA official, and as it seems, the FIA is going to stop in the investigations. So as it's now, the GIP system, as it's called, is legal, and Red Bull just have a great mechanic, which makes their life a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And if you can just make your life easier, but in a legal way, then why not go for it? I think they said, did they say they had it for 3 years on the car, which is obviously, you know, kind of showed that they could maybe, I don't know, hide it, or that it just was not really a concern for any of the cars. 4 minutes on the clock. I do apologise. I'm going to have to quickly go. I'm going to have to leave you, Tom, with it for about a minute or two. I really do apologise for this. I'll be back in a second. Tom will take you through the next few minutes of qualifying.
Looking at the current times, especially compared to the first qualifying, we can see that P10 is close to the same time in the first qualifying. So we see a faster time for the drop-off point, for the elimination zone, which means drivers like Hulkenberg, Magnussen, and maybe even Paris could get in trouble with faster guys like Leclerc, Lawson getting in front. Currently, the first car who will set a lap will be Leclerc in the Ferrari, trying to get the clean lap without as many drivers. But it will just take a bit of time as they're approaching the penultimate turn. We are now on board with Charles Leclerc as he's starting his probably final lap of the qualifying session. And soon we will get his first sector time, and we'll see if he has a chance to improve. .25.1 for the Monegas is a quite good time, beating the time of Tsunoda by 1/10 in the first sector. So far, so good for the Ferrari, but still too sectors more to go and another drivers to improve. And Verstappen taking the first place with a 32.5. So I would guess my take was completely wrong, and I don't have any idea what I am talking. Just kidding.
So Verstappen, yeah, going fastest, but not amazing in the first sector, unless I'm looking at it wrong. No, I am looking at it wrong. Never mind. It was okay in the first sector. Not, of course, his fastest, but brilliant in the last two sectors, which was a big advantage. And 2.5 tenths ahead of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri as we get to the final 2 minutes of the session, minute and a half I should really say. Ocon, Alonso, Stroll, Leclerc, Lawson currently in the drop zone. They've all put some fresher tyres on. Ocon, Alonso, Stroll, of course, all doing that. Lawson doesn't have the fresher tyres. That puts Leclerc up to P3, which is a brilliant, brilliant advantage there for him. So well done indeed. But Liam Lawson, 3 lap hold only, but still could be a disadvantage for the Kiwi, and they are possibly going to be out of this session inevitably, which is a sorry sight to see. Can Yuki Tsunoda get themselves back into Q3 as we saw in sprint qualifying? We'll see. Gasly improving, Carlos Sainz improving as they're looking to try and make themselves a little bit safer. 8 tenths behind the current pole time is Carlos Sainz. That isn't amazing. They need to try and find a bit more time.
Gasly is currently on a surprisingly good time with his Alpine car, which wasn't the greatest. Getting an improvement, but making a small mistake at the beginning of the third sector, probably losing him some time, but I guess that won't matter as much. He will probably be in Q3.
Probably. It should be good. Now we get to the final seconds of the session. Here goes Ocon, not faster in the middle sector. Neither is Hulkenberg, so it's all crunch time. Ocon will not be getting to Q3 in the United States Grand Prix. Unfortunately, their qualifying is over. Hulkenberg will go right up to the track limits and will not improve. So they're P10 or lower. They're going to have to hope that no one else improves behind them. I believe if we got Alonso going for an improvement lap, I say that, they're not actually going faster at all. Magnussen takes out his teammate and proves once again that he is the king in that team in Austin. He is performing to his absolute maximum. That is awesome there for Magnussen. We've got both Astons improving at various sectors. Lance Stroll improving in both sectors. Alonso only one, but still goes green in that middle sector. The third sector coming up though for Fernando Alonso. When they cross that final corner across the line, what's it going to be for the Spanish driver? Is it going to be Q? It is. And Yuki Tsunoda has got a lot of pressure. Hulkenberg is obviously out. Tsunoda could knock out Kevin Magnussen if he gets it all right. Lance Stroll could do it actually instead for Tsunoda as he crosses the line himself. It's not going to be an improvement, and he makes a massive mistake in the final sector. Lance Stroll will be out of qualifying. It's going to be Yuki Tsunoda who is going to cross the line but go into the pit lane. Magnussen is just about safe. Liam Lawson is absolutely furious with their qualifying session as they weren't able to set a lap time, but they're still in to Q2, of course, so P15 is better than P20, but that is qualifying finished in a little bit of a crazy style. We get Alonso into Q3, we get Magnussen into Q3, Gasly into Q3, we've got Russell into Q3. Those drivers are all on their own, no teammates to join them. Of course, as we saw Hulkenberg, Ocon and Stroll be knocked out just then, both racing balls were out, but Perez manages to find it and doesn't find themselves in P11 as they did in the sprint qualifying. They now find themselves in P5. Still, though, a pretty big gap to their teammate.
And here's the reason why Hülkenberg lost all the time. Massive lockup into the first turn. Really difficult to get the right braking point with the upper approximate time loss of 4/10, which would have put him quite comfortably into the last qualifying session.
For sure. That is a hell of a shame. But it's the way it goes. The Haas is just looking so competitive, but it didn't work out in the end. And they're about a tenth away, just under a tenth away from their teammate. in the end. So that's all the difference in this modern era of Formula One, of course. It is absolutely brutal, and it's only going to get more brutal as we go to the final year of the current regulations in 2025. That is going to be an epic year for competition. Everything will go for a reset in 2026, which personally I'm not happy about, but it's for the better of the sport, I know, so hopefully that makes everything very interesting. But yeah, F1 in 2025 is going to be awesome. That is Q2 done, and we will move on to Q2 very, very, very shortly. Verstappen once again absolutely rapid in Austin. I'm kind of having doubts. I don't think Ferrari will get pole. I think it's maybe going to be Verstappen, Verstappen, Verstappen. I don't think he's really going to have any challenges when we get to that final session.
Yeah, Verstappen is definitely really fast this weekend, which probably surprised some people with the Red Bull not being the fastest car, maybe even the second fastest car for the last few races. So I'm really happy for him. If you like it, it's another thing as a spectator. But I just leave it at here. And we've seen now the time beaten from yesterday by almost 3 cars. So it's really interesting how the track has developed since yesterday with the complete sprint race taking part, and now the qualifying, the much more rubber on the track, creating more grip. So the times are getting faster, even though the temps are higher. And now my question to you: what do you think will be the pole time today?
What did we do? A 32.8. We just did a 32.5. It's going to be a 32.2. Oh, that's a bit interesting. 32.2. I'm just going to quickly mute that there as Tom has a few microphone issues. Hopefully that can fix itself soon. But anyway, we move on to Q3 very, very shortly, and hopefully can get that started in a matter of seconds or minutes. Of course, as we saw last time, 45. That will give us actually, maybe it'll go a little bit longer. Anyway, I do apologise for any technical issues that may be occurring at the moment, but we should be good to go in a few moments' time. Waiting for that clock to start. It will be in probably about 3 minutes, if not immediately. No, it's going to be around about 3 minutes, I think. And we'll be going once again qualifying for the final time for the USA Grand Prix. Verstappen has topped the times in Q2. Sainz and Norris. The McLarens trying to find that little bit of pace in their car, of course, which is all good for them. Now, it's a matter of time. I once again say that, and we will find out who is going to take the pole position as the timer is getting ready, and we should be able to go green flag qualifying once again in a very, very short space of time. I'm just going to quickly double check that's all good. I think the microphone issues on Tom's side are somewhat fixed, I think, so we can get them back into the session. And yeah, all right, let's see. I think Verstappen is going to be doing a 32.2. That's my guess.
I'm saying that he won't get this time again, and we will see high 32.6, but probably also from Verstappen. That Sainz and Norris might have a chance to get at least into the 0.7s and try to challenge Verstappen for this time.
Fair enough. Yeah, of course, everyone will be more dialed in. Q3 is where it is all about, so those Ferraris will definitely be a threat in the final section or final part of qualifying, as they always should really be. They have had a few problems in the past. They've really messed up qualifying. I can't remember what it was. Singapore, of course, Carlos crashed, but also Leclerc had a massive issue and ended up way further back than they should have really. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Everyone is on their way out of the pit lane, getting ready for this final session. Magnussen will be the first one to qualify, as they're very, very, very keen to get this session underway. That's been so good for them so far. Now I've said that, it's commentator's curse and he's going to absolutely mash it into the wall. Hopefully he doesn't. I do apologise, we've got a spectator. My dog has joined us for the commentary. Hopefully they don't say anything dodgy. I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine. Anyway, we continue and we do see Kevin Magnussen make their way out on track. Alrighty. That is George Russell following shortly as well. It is full focus on the blue helmet driver for the Mercedes team. And should all be good. No problems at all. And just waiting for everyone to start their outlap. And then we can really find what the answer we've been looking for since the start of this live stream. Since the kind of start of the weekend. I mean, obviously you want to see who wins the race more importantly, but still, the qualifying result is very, very important in Formula 1, and it's where the cars go absolutely to their maximum. It's what the drivers are paid for, is what I think David Coulthard said, or was it Martin Brundle maybe. It's what they're paid for. This is qualifying, it's all down to the driver. And they've got to really make it work. It is purely them. Once they've got the car set up, the car warmed up, it is all about the driver. It's all about what they can do. It's not about the race. It's not about the strategy. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. As Magnussen is still going to be the first one to set a lap here. So that provisionally, they should be able to go on pole, unless they get their time deleted, of course. Sorry for the noise in the background. I will be right back, as once again I leave you with Tom for just a minute or two.
Yeah, currently we're having a closer look to the Red Bull stands, seeing quite thinking JP. Now we're going to see Norris starting his first laps, having a small incident at the penultimate turns, now slowing down to have a gap to Russell and going on to the main straight.
Alright, sorry, I am back and we should be good to go. Less than 10 minutes left on the clock now. And we've got Magnussen going through turns 8 and 9 and ready to hit the next DRS zone as the Haas is absolutely mental in a straight line. Can we see them go purple in that second sector? I mean, obviously they will go purple. I say that. Obviously Lando Norris has started their first sector and completed their first sector and gone purple over Kevin Magnussen. Just trying to look at that gap, 25.3, 24.9 for Lando Norris. So that is a 4/10 more or less gap. It's 3/10 really. That is a pretty big one for sure. We'll see. Maybe Kevin Magnussen can hold that fastest second sector. It's immediately been beaten by George Russell. It will possibly be beaten by Lando Norris in a matter of moments as we see Lando take it on cue. Now, Kevin Magnussen still is the man to watch, to set the pace, to set the times that everyone's got to beat. They go across the line, and it is going to be a 33.481. That's a long way off my predictions. I'm a little bit worried here. We're looking for an entire second, 1.1 seconds, I think, was it? Anyway, Russell goes P1 for now. Lando Norris crosses the line. What's it going to be? 32.3. Fair enough. Fair enough. Maybe I wasn't wrong. Maybe I wasn't wrong. Alright, so one more tenth and I would have been correct. Unless I said 30.3, 32.3, then I'm just completely off. But either That is an amazing lap that Lando's just set immediately and is good to go, and that is possibly going to be one of the fastest times of the entire weekend. Or there's still a long way to go in this session and we can get to the 31s. That would be pretty impressive. 31s would be very, very nice to see from everyone. Verstappen going purple in the first sector. Not quite in the second, but third sector is coming up and they should be quick. Alrighty, final corner. What's it going to be for the Dutchman? Across the line, DRS, and it's not going to be a provisional pole. It's going to be incredibly close to Lando Norris, but it's not going to be anywhere near. Of course, they beat Lando in that first sector, but nowhere else. Nowhere else. So, yeah, they've got a difficult situation ahead of them. They've got a very, very quick chrome car, I should say, not an orange car or a papaya car. It is a chrome car for today's race. They brought it back once again. I think, yeah, Mercedes are seeming to struggle. George Russell asking questions on the radio, really not happy with the situation that they are in. Lando Norris just getting everything right so far, although that being said, had a big moment on the exit of 19 and may and probably has got a bit of an invalidation there. So that might be Max Verstappen, unless they've got away with that, I'm not entirely sure. That might be Max Verstappen actually on provisional pole. We'll wait and see. Perez has actually had a time deleted, so they're not going to be too happy. They still have a little bit of time left in this session, but they have the tyres? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to have the fresh tyres. McLaren are going for a quick pit stop, not bringing the car into... No, they are bringing the car into the pit lane, as Oscar Piastri is also on their way in as well. And then we'll see the McLarens come out for their final runs to give it an attempt at that pole position. Just waiting to see if Lando does get that time deleted, or if they're just within the limits.
I expect him to keep his time because watching closely, the left tire was at least on the right line. So I think he might have been in the regulations, but it was at least a loss of 1/10. So probably could have gone quicker, but still currently provisional pole for the Englishman.
Yep, for sure. Now, whether it's one tyre or two tyres, I can't remember. I think in the F1 game at least, which you can never really relate to F1 of course, in the F1 game at least, in the past you have seen people get warnings for having only one tyre on the track and all three out. Sometimes you don't get a warning at all. We'll see how it goes. We've got the Aston Martin starting a lap of Fernando Alonso, currently no time on the board. The only car out on track, giving us a bit of entertainment here. 4.5 minutes on the clock. Now, as I said before, and I've said it twice already, I'm going to say it a third time, setting the lap first on the final stint is going to be an advantage because you probably won't have issues with a yellow flag. Whereas later on, if you go for the final 1 or 2 minutes, then you do risk being blocked by a yellow flag and losing it all, as we saw Lando Norris do, of course, in Baku, and miss out big time in qualifying. Now, Fernando Alonso is trying to back themselves up. It will lose them a little bit of lap time with the lack of, the lack of the extra track evolution, of course. It's just a bit of a safety margin, that's all. Maybe they could even go for a cool-down lap and go once again. Just double-checking their tyres. They are on fresh tyres, so they could actually do that. They could actually go for a second lap if they really wanted to. So this is probably the plan for Aston Martin to give themselves the best chance.
I just looked at the rulebook for the F1 series and it stated that a track limit warning will be given if all 4 tires are off track. So him being on the white line with his front left tire should make him be inbound.
That is very, very, very lucky there from Lando Norris. So many people standing at that final corner. We're going to get Fernando Alonso make it through that final corner, no problem. But they will be very close to the rear end there and nowhere near Pierre Gasly. That's almost 3/10 away from the Alpine car. We'll see. That is, I think, is it just a confirmation of Perez's lap time being deleted? That's up around turn 9 to 10 where they had that happen. They went slightly over. and unfortunately you're going to have to go again if they want to make it work this qualifying session and be nice and close to their teammate. So we'll see how that goes. We've got 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. Fernando Alonso, are they doing a cool-down lap to go again? We will find out. George Russell, then it will be Kevin Magnussen to set their laps. This will be their final opportunity for the 2024 USA Grand Prix qualifying. This is the Grand Prix qualifying, not the sprint, just to make sure that is clarified. Of course, we didn't commentate on the qualifying session yesterday due to an inability to. What happened there? That was a big incident right there. It's not a crash, but it was a bit of a dodgy release from, I believe, the Alpine. Alpine have released Gasly straight into the path of Verstappen, and it almost led to a pretty big collision, but they luckily avoided it. There's possibly going to be a fine coming their way.
It will definitely be some expenses for the Alpine team, because it was just too close for any good measure.
Yeah, and in a qualifying session where everyone's trying to get that track position, you can't be unsafely releasing. You need to kind of follow accordingly, and if you don't get that release right, then you just have to wait behind. But oh well, it happened, and there's nothing you can do about it now. George Russell and Kevin Magnussen have started their laps, and we'll see what they can do. Gasly starts the lap. Alonso goes into the pit lane, doesn't do a cool down lap. That is going to be it for Alonso. P8 or lower. No improvements to be made. Verstappen starts their lap now. But George Russell going into turn 11, looking to try and see if they can get as close as they can. Maybe replicate what they did in sprint qualifying, which they did a phenomenal job in. Of course, P2 it was, and incredibly close to the back of Max Verstappen. So they know that the Mercedes has it in them. It's just that where did they go wrong in the setup changes? You get a little bit of freedom with Parc Fermé now as they made those changes to the rules, of course. They've just gone the wrong direction, and it hasn't worked for the Mercedes. That is a purple fastest sector right there for Max Verstappen, who looks to try and compete against Lando Norris to get that top spot and make their life much easier into their first corner and into the race. The first corner, that being said, though, is going to be a brutal one because it's so wide on entry.
Sector 3, yellow flag, probably
George Russell into the wall at the final stages, and that is going to be a red flag. It's going to be Lando Norris on pole position. Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Piastri and Russell will stay P6. Alonso is going to be very happy with that one. Perez is going to be furious, and George Russell, that is a big shunt right there, losing the front right suspension, maybe the rear as well. They're not in a bad position to start this race, but that is exactly what you don't want to happen. What a shame there for the Mercedes team. A bad weekend has turned even worse. Not going to be happy. I think they've broken the rear suspension as well. There's no rear wing damage, so maybe they got away with it quite lightly. But it was on the exit of turn 19, as you can see on your screen, of course. It's not going to be a red flag. It is only going to be a yellow flag. But ultimately, everyone has had to abort their laps, so they might as well come into the pit lane. Lando Norris will take a very nice pole position. Verstappen is going to be very disappointed. They were on cue to try and beat their rivals' time, of course. They were so close on their current lap times, so it would have been very possible for that to happen. I don't know what to say. Such a disappointing one there. And Tom, I didn't get it right. A 32.3 in the end. That's a disappointing
I don't comment on that.
Yeah, a disappointing one for me, but at least I didn't get it the other way around. Much slower. Anyway, that is how it goes. Lando Norris will start tomorrow's race on pole position. Verstappen will take it to P2, and it's going to be a very interesting one into turn 1. Tom, I've got a few questions for you. First of all, who do you think is going to win tomorrow? But also, who do you think is going to lead on the exit of the first corner?
Good questions. We've gotten rather short runoff, but a really steep uphill, so a good start will be required to stay ahead as you take the momentum into the uphill. And with Norris stop problems, I think Verstappen has quite a good chance to get at least side by side or to the side and going into the first turn, and then it's just a question if Norris makes it in front or if he can stand front through the turn. But I would say Verstappen has the chance to be in front after the first turn. And the question with the race win, Verstappen looked really fast during the sprint race and Norris having a bit more struggles, especially in the early few laps and then the later ones. So I have to stay boring and say Verstappen getting his next win, even though I would like to see Norris closing the gap down in the championship, so we can have a more intense fight going into the last races of the season.
Yeah, that would be a good one for everyone, of course, a nice intense championship decider at the end. But yeah, I think Verstappen will have a great opportunity. Maybe, dare I say, the Ferraris could have a go into the first corner as well if they can really nail the start down. That McLaren, as we've seen in the past races, it should have a very, very nice advantage in long distance races. So that's something that we're going to have to watch out for, and it's going to be a very important thing for the race tomorrow. I'm going to say Lando will have it because of the longevity and the long distance situation with the race. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We hope that you enjoy the race tomorrow. We won't be watching along with that one, but it's been a pleasure today. Thank you very much, Tom, as well. Great to see you in the comms for the first time. I enjoyed that very much. Apologies for any technical difficulties we did have, but we managed to get through them, and we managed to get through the session. Thank you very much. That is Lando Norris on pole position, Verstappen in P2, and Carlos Sainz in P3. We'll see you next time.